Next type of function we're going to dig into are quadratics. Most of you have worked with these before. A quadratic function has the highest degree of 2, ax squared plus bx plus c. For standard of what it looks like, it's a parabola. It either opens up or down. This is determined by whatever a is. If a is greater than 0, meaning it's positive, it's going to open up. If a is less than 0, it's negative, it's going to open down. The vertex is my lowest point on a positive one. It's the highest point on a negative one. My axis is actually an axis of symmetry, and it always goes through the vertex. Standard form of a quadratic function is when you have your a factored out, x minus h quantity squared plus k. Then it's easy to point out that my vertex is always at hk. I can identify a if it opens up or down. My vertical line, my axis of symmetry, is always going to be x equals h. So let's look at how to get a function into standard form. Okay, before I can describe this graph, I've got to get it into standard form. Okay, first thing you want to check about is your a. If you have an a that is not equal to 1, meaning you have a number out in front here, you need to divide everything through by that number. This makes life a little easier, even though it looks a little uglier. So now I've got y over 2 equals x squared plus 4x plus 7/2. Then y over 2 is going to stay. For these two functions, I'm going to consolidate them, parentheses, x. I always want to take half of this number that's with x, so half of a positive 4 is a positive 2. Quantity squared, I'm going to subtract, always subtract. I'm subtracting whatever this number is squared. So 2 squared is 4. Still have my plus 7/2. And okay, so one more line, y over 2 equals x plus 2 quantity squared minus 4 plus 7/2 is going to leave me with negative 1/2. Now I'm going to multiply the other side by 2 to put that back into the game. Y equals 2 times x plus 2 quantity squared minus 1. Now you have it in standard form. Now let's talk about these steps again. Okay, first thing I did was divide by a. And I did that all the way through. That was our 2. And then I took half of b, this number right here is b, and I put it into the parentheses squared. And then I also had to subtract whatever half of b was squared. So I subtracted 4 because 2 squared is 4. And the rest of it is just simplifying at the end. Multiply your a back in there that you divided out, which was, in our case, was this 2 right here. Here is another example where you do not have to divide a out. It does start with a 1, so give it a shot and come back and see if you can get it. Okay, so this is going to be x. Since my b is a negative 10, I'm going to put a negative 5 in here. Quantity squared. Subtract. I'm going to square this number, 25, add 25 because that was in the original problem. Simplify. Now I have x minus 5, quantity squared, plus 0. So I really don't need that part. So there's my parabola. And I forgot to describe but this one would be a parabola. You should know your movements. Minus 5 on the inside is going to be a parabola. Moved right 5. So it's moved over 5. It's going to have a vertex at 0, oh, I'm sorry, at 5, 0. Its axis is going to be at x equals 5. That's that vertical line going through there. And that's pretty much it to describe it. A little bit more difficult one. Write the standard form of the equation of the parabola whose vertex is 1, 2. So I go through a point 1, 2, passes through the point 3, negative 6. Okay, so if that's my vertex, this parabola must be opening down. I know that my h is 1, my k is 2. That comes from my vertex hk. This is just a random point, xy. So in standard form of a parabola, I'll have y equals, remember it was a times x minus h, quantity squared, plus k. I'm going to plug in my point, xy, that I have, and my h and k that I have. So I'm negative 6 equals a times x was 3 minus h was 1, quantity squared, plus 2 was my k. Negative 6 equals a times 3 minus 1 is 2, squared is 4, plus 2. Subtract 2. Negative 8 equals 4a, which means my a equals negative 2. Final answer, y equals, all I had to solve for was a, negative 2 times, this is always x minus h, so x minus 1, quantity squared, plus 2 was my k. I always, in standard form, I need an a, an h, and a k. X and y, unless we're trying to find an h, an a, h, or k, x and y stay in standard form. Okay, try it again, pause, see if you can get the correct answer. My vertex, so here it gives me my h and my k, and it gives me a random point, xy. So standard form starts y equals a times x minus h, quantity squared, plus k. Plug in my y, 15 equals a times negative 6 minus negative 4, turns into a plus 4, plus k, which is 11. 15 equals a, negative 6 plus 4 would be negative 2. Negative 2 squared is 4, plus 11. Subtract my 11 over. 4 equals a times 4, so a must equal 1. So that means standard form, y equals a, it's an understood 1, or you can put it, x minus h plus k. So that should be it. Let's check our points just to get an idea of what this would look like. Negative 4, 11 is supposed to be my vertex. It's going to be up here. And then my y point, or my point on here, is going to be at negative 6 up 15. So this is indeed an upward facing parabola, so it's positive. My vertex is at negative 4, 11. Remember, your inside is always your opposite.